Welcome to the very first episode of the Arenda GE podcast, Ship the Narrative. I'm Ines and I'll be your host as we explore how cutting-edge ideas are shaping our world. Today we are diving into the world of technology, innovation, and impact. We are going to talk about something that's revolutionizing industries, changing the way we work, and even redefining creativity. Artificial intelligence. AI is no longer just a futuristic concept. It's here, and it's transforming our daily lives. But AI also raises big questions. Will it replace our jobs? Can machines be creative? And how can young professionals prepare for this AI driven world? To dive into these important topics, I'm excited to welcome Mr. Warren Bowles, a researcher in AI, writer, and ethicist whose work explores the intersection of artificial intelligence, law, education, and human rights. Mr. Warren brings both deep expertise and critical perspective to today's most pressing debates on AI. Welcome, Mr. Warren.
Thank you so much, Ines, to you, Yusuf, and greetings to everybody. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's start simple. AI is everywhere, from voice assistant like Siri to self driving cars. But for someone who has no idea what AI actually is, how would you explain it in the simplest way possible?
Your AI or your artificial intelligence is, I think, to put it as simply as possible, it is a type of technology that is advancing very rapidly in today's world to replicate human interaction and human condition. It is by no means at the stage where it is going to be like a human being or it thinks like a human being, but it is able to perform very basic elementary tasks and it's able to assist us with streamlining some of our work and perhaps to share ideas with. It is incurring so many different forms of usage worldwide. But I think that's the easiest way to say is that it is now a technological phenomenon that seeks to do what we can do as humans, but it's not quite human yet.
That's a great way to put it. And what about you? What drew you into the world of AI? Was there a defining moment or a project that sparked your interest?
So prior to last year, I only started really diving into AI, the various forms of AI that you get, and especially because I'm law trained, I started only looking at the law from the beginning of last year and following the latest policy developments. Prior to that, at the time, ChatGPT, talking about late 2023, ChatGPT was coming out, and in the educational space and where I work, a few of my colleagues were trying it out. They were trying different prompts. They were seeing what it could do, what it could not do. And I decided at that time in our South African law space, there were already instances where it was starting to be used. And I thought, I actually want to go and look and see what this is all about. And so, for a conference that took place at the beginning of last year, I decided to present a paper then on what would AI legislation look like in South Africa? What do we need to consider based on what read up to that point? And at the opening of the conference, at the welcoming ceremony of us, was very nervous, of course, to present the paper. At that time, I hadn't presented at a conference for quite a while. But one of the keynote speakers at that conference was our Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, who was a keynote speaker. He was brought in as a guest by the organizers. And in his speech, he said that there were three key areas that, for him as the minister, he wanted to focus on in reforming some aspects of the South African law. And one of those aspects was how to use AI and how to make AI proper and ethical. He went through the program and he said he was looking at some of the presentations. The conference ran for about a week. And he was looking at some of the presentations and he said that one that really stood out for him that spoke to what they're looking to do in our Department of Justice was my paper. And he mentioned my paper by title and me by name in front of so many different delegates from universities all across our country. And at that time, I thought, goodness, this has got impact. This has got meaning. It is important. It is relevant. Whereas at the time, I just thought, well, I'm going to go and give a paper and I will research and write on it. And maybe only a few years from now, I might only get recognized for the work that I do. And that little bit of acknowledgement and recognition gave me everything that I needed to say, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to work. And I want to make a difference, not only within my own country, but globally as well, wherever I can, although I'm living in South Africa. And that's where the journey began, and that's where I've been ever since.
It's always fascinating to hear how experts get started, really. So, now looking at where we are today, what would you say has been the biggest AI breakthrough in recent years?
I would say the biggest AI breakthrough that we had came about last year with the European Union's Artificial Intelligence Act when it was first adopted. The reason why I say that is because it was the very first law of its kind to regulate AI. It is not a law that sort of ties in or connects to other laws within a region or a country that will only speak to certain aspects of AI, like maybe it'll address a bit of privacy or a bit of cybersecurity or human rights or various different areas that is only focused on AI. And that for me as a researcher became a breakthrough moment because up to that point we didn't have any law. There's a lot of talk, a lot of debate, a lot of discussion. There's a lot of uncertainty, especially in the employment and the labor markets worldwide, where so many people are wondering, is it really going to take our jobs? Is it really going to come after humanity and try and kill off humanity? Some people still think about, for example, the Terminator movies and those types of shows, the popular culture. So this law was actually a breakthrough moment for us to say we now have a law that can regulate it and we've got something to build on for the future. And a couple of other regions and states worldwide are now using that law as a guideline to see how they can develop their own policies. And since the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act came out, it's been wonderful to see worldwide, and for me, especially on the African continent, how fast national AI policy is developing and with the African Union's AI continental strategy. It's amazing how quickly it's changed, but that was our breakthrough moment for sure.
So AI is just not about robots and automation. It's transforming entire industries. Which fields do you think are currently benefiting the most from AI?
I would say the fields at the moment that are currently benefiting quite extensively are any fields to do with if I look at the information and communications technology industries, software, hardware development, areas where computer science is required, data science, business analysis. So various different commercial and corporate areas are starting to really benefit from the usages of AI, especially in terms of simplifying the work, getting ideas, creating different solutions to very complex corporate or commercial problems. That is the one area where I see that it's gaining a lot of momentum, and we're seeing a lot of innovation coming out of that space. The other area that I think will see the eventual benefits of AI is going to be education, being able to introduce AI literacy into schools, colleges, universities, and then, of course, in the professional space will be another area. It's an area now that's starting to gain some momentum with the implementation of AI and teaching people how to use AI ethically, properly, and responsibly will also be an area where it's significantly going to grow. Another area where I think it's also gaining a lot of relevance and people are using it quite significantly are in any areas where there's some creativity that's required. It could be graphic design, fashion design, multimedia. Although some people are saying there that they're worried again with it probably taking away jobs, but That is also one area where it's becoming very abundant in terms of the ways that it's being used. So it's certainly growing in several different areas worldwide, and there's a lot of good innovation coming out.
Thank you. So that's incredible. But of course, AI is also changing the job markets. Many people fear that AI will take over their jobs. How do you see AI reshaping the workforce, and what should young professionals do to stay ahead?
It's a fantastic question that you ask, Ines. And it's a concerning one. It's a call to action for us as human beings to think very differently about how we are using AI and what it is actually going to be there for. I think the concerns about it taking jobs is a very important concern. It's a very serious concern. But the way that I see it at this stage, in the way that it's developing, is that a lot of individuals are using it for, it can do, I want to say, simple administrative tasks. It can do those mundane tasks. You can use it to set up appointments on your calendar, compile a grocery list. If you need it to help you sort documents into particular order, chronological, alphabetical order, it's very good at doing that. I still am of the view, because I'm very much a humans first advocate, because human beings, all of us are incredible. We've all got incredible gifts and skill in whatever we do and we pursue. The human being is unlike anything else in the world. So with AI being as prevalent as it is, I don't think it will ever get to that stage where it will completely overtake workforces, because you will have to understand that with human beings, we work together in a very unique way, in a very unique fashion. It'll maybe take over some of our mundane tasks that we don't like to really do, writing up our diary, preparing for meetings in the week, compiling agendas and documents. AI can do all of that for us. It depends very much on the role and the position that is out there, or that somebody is doing. And in this regard, what I want to say is, for anybody that wants to get ahead of it, and this is the best advice I can give anybody, because it's only helped me achieve the knowledge that I've got, and I'm still learning. I'm learning all the time. Is do your best to get to know as much about AI as possible. Follow certain people on LinkedIn, make connections with people working in the industry. Like myself, there's on my profile, I've got several individuals that are working in AI ethics, data policy, data analysis, AI product management, which is more sort of the marketing and the sales side of AI. And read so many articles about what AI is doing. Read about the good, the bad, and the ugly about AI. Any articles you can find, websites. For me, on record in this podcast, I can say that's that type of information I'd be willing to share and to contribute to help anybody if they want to say so. Warren, where do I begin? Where do I start looking? And also for me, what's also helped is that wherever you can, take courses about AI, take courses about AI in education, AI in business. How is AI improving sales? What are some of the threats or the risks about AI? There's plenty of workshops that go on LinkedIn. There's several agencies and institutions that I can suggest that can be followed, and they're always doing free workshops and training. And for some of them, you get certificates. You can put it on your resume, and that's the only way to stay ahead of it and build durable skills that you can use with AI. Whether you're somebody that likes to actually play with the tools, experiment with them, or if you're someone like me that takes a particular interest in the law and the educational aspect of it, using what I know to try and make a difference there worldwide and in my own country as well. So it's just read, follow it up on as much of it as possible, connect, and let's talk.
Thank
Talk
you so
to as
much,
many people.
Places. Thank you. So, speaking of skills, if someone wants to work in AI, whether as an engineer, a researcher, or even in business, what are the most important skills they should focus on?
Important skills that I can gather from the engineering space are because AI consumes data and it uses data to tell us what it knows. What I've been following there extensively, and this is also an area that I read a lot about, I haven't explored it personally as a skill, is being able to learn computing language, being able to learn aspects of computing language related to, for example, learning how to code Python, SQL, using data analysis tools like Tableau, for example, is a good skill to have as an engineer. Because especially with the artificial intelligence, and I speak from this perspective of very limited knowledge, is that you're able to, if you want to be able to design, say, an AI system, learning how to code is apparently one of the first things you need to do before you can take the next steps on, I would say, in a computer science context, learning how to build those particular systems. So that's what I would say for anybody that's looking to become an AI engineer or an AI developer. Those are important skills to learn to be able to enter that space and start building and working in the AI domains. Um, in terms of, like in my case, I can say, and you can tell me if there's any other professional spaces where you think the skills might be required, and you're so sorry. But in my particular space as an academic, just being hungry for knowledge, being able to read and being able to develop an opinion about something that's happening in AI and using a platform like LinkedIn, which is really only it's only social media platform that I engage with people on is on LinkedIn. When I go and I make a post, I encourage people to give me feedback, people to connect, to share their views with me, to be able to come to great events like this and to be able to share what I know. And by connecting and by collaborating, that is my work, as I see it, not only as a researcher and ethicist, but also as an educator and an academic, is to be able to share that knowledge. From your side, what other professions or vocations would you like me to speak to with AI? Aside for, say, an engineer?
For like researchers or like people in business?
People in business, I would say that having a good knowledge of what AI is, what it can do, and how it can actually enhance business processes is a very good skill to have, because the success of AI in business is based on how does it actually streamline our working processes? How does it increase sales, for example? If a company is focused on sales and sales driven, what can it do to help with sales? So usually what I would suggest there is that anyone who's interested in the business side of it, consider looking at, for example, a course that speaks to AI product management, or how AI is being used in marketing, or how AI is being used in sales. Because from what I can see presently, that seems to be a very big business trend in the AI space, is anybody that's got an idea of how it can function like this in business, how it can also streamline business processes for anybody that's running a business is very important. So being able to have those skills of saying, okay, I can use ChatGPT to assist me with drawing up an inventory, a stock list of what we've got in our company or our business. I can also ask it to help me verify counts. If you know how to prompt it properly, there's workshops that can teach you how to prompt the AI system to do that. And then, of course, learning about what is it actually doing for sales and what is it doing for marketing. How can you, if you qualify to be an AI product manager, drive their product in a highly competitive and global AI market? What are you going to tell your clients? What after service sales are you going to offer them? What incentives will there be for them to be able to do that? And of course, in business, is also an understanding of the law and policy, not only within a particular state or region, but globally that governs that. So, for example, if you are working for a business that's based anywhere in the European Union, you have to have an idea of what the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act is about. how those provisions are actually going to apply to you before you can execute your business. Researchers,
Right.
I think for researchers, it's just about being able to read far and wide, take in a variety of different views, and have a very open mind.
Being
Because all,
curious.
yes,
Yeah.
be curious. AI gives us many opportunities to be very curious. I mean, even for me, if I come across an article on LinkedIn about something with AI that's not necessarily something that I research or write on or I know a lot about, like for example, if it's about using Python or learning SQL in the data science and data analysis space, if it still interests me, I'll say to myself, "Oh, this looks interesting. Let me just go take a look." And more often than not, I learn something new that enhances my own practice and my own knowledge. So it's about being curious, having an open mind, because sometimes you might have one view, somebody else will have a differing view. And then it's just about saying, I acknowledge your view, but with respect, this is how I see it. And this is why I'm researching on this particular area. And being able to exchange critiques and criticisms together as a community is an important skill to have when researching in the AI space.
So, time for a little myth busting. AI is surrounded by a lot of misconceptions, and today we're going to separate facts from fiction. I'll state a common belief about AI, and you tell me if it's true or false, and why. Ready?
Really
Let's go. So, AI will replace all jobs.
false,
Okay. Can you please tell us why?
of course. As I mentioned earlier with jobs, I don't think it will ever be able to replace all jobs, and even the jobs where the tasks are there's a potential for those tasks to be overtaken by AI. I think the AI will be able to do some of it, but not all of it. The reason why I say that is because AI is not at that stage yet where it can, for example, make the various connections that we as human beings do about doing a job that we enjoy doing, or jobs like I'll give an example. For example, an essential service like policing. There's so much talk about bringing AI into that space for surveillance, for facial recognition, and for biometric identification. But more often than not, it's been shown that the AI that's been used for that, and this is illegal, for example, in the European Union, the AI that's being used for that often carries with it a certain bias where it will only identify certain individuals, normally part of a vulnerable or minority group in that state, without any reason for that identification, saying that they have a potential to commit crime or they are potentially a suspect in a crime when it turns out it's not the case at all. So, with human beings doing a job, there's a certain precision, a certain devotion that we have when we are doing a job, and we have a certain focus that I do not think AI has got yet, even in the talk of AI agents. AI agents are now this year's biggest AI trend, where they're talking about AI that can do various tasks all at once and with some degree of independence, it's able to do that. Even those yet, I don't think have gotten to the stage where they will be able to take jobs. They will be able to complement our work as human beings, and that should be the ultimate focus in the job market altogether. And that's why I don't think they will be able to take all jobs. For me, as an educator, AI is able to complement my work when I teach students, but I don't see it one day being able to take over educators and teachers because we teach with a certain degree of love, compassion, and empathy for our students that AI does not have as yet. So, no, I don't think it's going to take all jobs, and those are my reasons for why.
Thank you. So, AI is already smarter than humans?
I'm going to go with that and say that again, it's false. And my reasons there again are I would say that it is smarter in terms of being able to do things, certain things that will, it's smarter in the sense that if we, for example, try to do an equation in mathematics, or we try and do a scientific formula, it will take us a bit more time to do it. And I'm speaking from the vantage point of somebody that doesn't work with mathematics or natural science in my field at all.
Yeah.
I pretty much have to use a calculator for most of my adding, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying. But the point is that we will get there. We would probably get there a bit slower, or we could ask someone that we know that can help us. We will eventually get there. AI will do it maybe in 2 or 3 seconds. So what I want to say is that AI is smarter in terms of method,
Yeah.
not necessarily smarter than us in any other way. It's quicker and smarter in method. It'll be able to work out an algebraic equation, for example, in a couple of seconds. The irony of that is we might still have to go and verify it because we know that AI can sometimes hallucinate. It can
Yeah.
sometimes give incorrect answers.
Right.
So it's smarter in terms of the method, in terms of how it works things out, and where AI is only knows what it knows based on the data that's in it. So, for example, I know, like with Anthropic's Claude, I asked it a question the other day, and it said to me, "Please take note that what I know only goes up to October 2024." We don't have that limitation as human beings. We can learn
For
for
everyone. Yeah.
for everyone, and we can learn for as long as we are alive,
Mm,
and we can learn many different things.
mm.
So that's why I say it's not necessarily smarter than humans in terms of intellect and in terms of what makes us uniquely human. But maybe in terms of the method, if you haven't got a calculator or your mobile phone near you, or and you need a quick answer, you can go onto ChatGPT and say, "Look, for example," and it's a silly example, but what is 8 times 7? And it'll give you the answer. The method's quicker, but the knowledge has still got some way to go, in my view, compared to what human beings know and can do.
So AI can be creative just like humans.
That I would say is true. AI demonstrates some incredible qualities in terms of being able to create various different materials in a whole variety of different formats. I'm sure that all of you would have seen that if you're on LinkedIn, every second post has got a Studio Ghibli post, or it's somebody that's now an action figure, based on using ChatGPT and various different prompts to experiment with that. So it is indeed rather creative in certain respects. I think for us though, our creativity is usually unlimited. If we want to be creative, all of us can be very creative in one way or another. It might align to your job, it might align to your studies, it might align to something that you're passionate about outside of those areas. But we can spontaneously be rather creative, and fortunately today we have got AI that can help us be creative as well. I believe that AI is a good complement to that. But if I think about, for example, there's certain things about the creativity that I think are still quite some way into the future. If you've ever tried asking ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or any of those platforms to generate an image for you, you might end up, especially if it's got words, the words are misspelt. There's still biases in that material that you see. You might ask it to give you a picture of a doctor, and it might give you a male doctor, and you were in fact looking for a female doctor. That's a bias in the system. Talking about racial representation, gender representation is still very problematic, even in the creative space. So I would say that it can be just as creative, but it complements our creativity, and that's how we need to use it ethically and properly and with a lot of care.
So, of course, AI isn't just about potential, it also comes with ethical concerns. What do you see as the biggest ethical challenges in AI today?
The biggest ethical challenge that I see And that's especially not only common in my line of work, but it's also common in several other areas that we are encountering, is where people are using it, where I want to say in very candid terms, you don't want to think about it, so you give it to AI to think about it for you. Whatever the output is that you get from the AI, you take that and you use that without verifying it, without checking it, without being sensitive to the biases that might be represented by that output. And then you just go, for example, and you talk to your friends about it. You put it on LinkedIn. You didn't verify or check it, but you put it on LinkedIn because it sounds great from this AI system, what it's given you. And that for me is a grave ethical concern, that what we call it in the research is that you hand over your cognitive function to the AI system. You don't want to think, you want it to think for you. And that for me is a grave ethical concern, because we have to be able to think very carefully about what we want the AI to do. And with the output that it gives us, we must know enough to be able to say, this is correct, this is not correct. I don't like that it's giving me this stereotypical representation of a person or of a group. I wanted to do that differently. So you try and work through and update your prompt to try and get that right. And that is something we're especially seeing in education, where people, for example, students will get an assignment question. They will just go to ChatGPT, cut and paste the question as the prompt, and then whatever they get out of ChatGPT, they submit to the teacher to mark. It's a it's a grave ethical concern for me, and it's I think another big ethical concern for me is how data and how our personal information is being used in these systems, what we need to look out for and what we need to be careful of. And at the moment, from what I'm seeing, is we have to find another way to be able to, if you're, for example, on LinkedIn and you see an AI image that you don't agree with or that you know is incorrect, maybe from a national perspective or even just within your own personal experience, is being able to reach out to somebody and say, this is not correct. Can you reach out to OpenAI? Can you reach out to Claude? Can you reach out to these people and get the message across? And that is an ethical challenge for me that I think we will have to hope now that transparency and accountability become very important AI principles that some of these AI developers will need to consider.
That's really interesting because one of the biggest concerns is trust in AI in critical areas, just like healthcare, finance, and even criminal justice. So, can we truly rely on AI driven decisions in these sensitive fields?
I would say that we can't truly rely on them without applying our own human judgment. They will assist us, or I want to say advise us on a decision or on guidance to make a decision. But I don't believe we are at that stage in this time to be able to take a decision that's being made by AI and to be able to say, oh, this decision looks good, let's just go with it because AI came up with it. It'll give us a decision, and then it'll be up to us as human beings to use our own minds, our own contexts, and our own experiences to really critique that decision and question, is it the best decision? And then, of course, for us to have the right to be able to say this decision is not right, we propose another decision, having thought about it as human beings. So I don't think
Thank
we're
you.
entirely at that stage where we can just rely on a decision. And that also goes back to my previous ethical concern that, in a way, I think to do that, we're just saying to AI, I don't want to think, I don't want to decide, you do it. And it's actually not at that point
Yeah.
yet. I don't even know if it'll be at that point in our lifetime or in our descendants' lifetime where it'll be able to do that. Although I know that a lot of the media are saying artificial general intelligence is coming, it's coming quicker than we think, but I still think there will still be a lot of errors to be ironed out before we can actually do that. And for every decision, there must be a human element or a human contribution.
So, This has been such an insightful discussion. We've covered how AI is revolutionizing industries, how to prepare for the AI driven future, and even busted some common myths. But for our listeners who wants to learn more, where should they start?
Your listeners are more than welcome to reach out to me. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to share my LinkedIn handle. They're more than welcome to connect with me, and I'm more than happy to share resources, ideas, to engage in discussions like this in the future, and to direct them to some experts and some mentors that I follow in the field who have also influenced my way of thinking about AI and what the future of it looks like.
Thank you so much. And finally, before we wrap up, if you could give one key piece of advice to our listeners about AI and the future, what would it be?
One key piece of advice for looking at AI in the future, I think the best advice that I can give to the listeners today is just to say to them, be open minded about it, be very cautious of what you hear and what you read. Develop not only a sense of curiosity, which for me, mentioned earlier, is such a beautiful word, especially during this time with AI. But along with your curiosity, be able to read and develop an attitude of questioning. If you see anything about AI and what it's looking like for the future, whether it is good news or bad news, be able to question it, challenge it, uh, reach out to people, let's connect, let's talk, let's work out what the truth behind it is, because especially, and Ines, you mentioned this earlier, trust. We are now moving into such an important time in humanity's existence on Earth where we now have to trust something that's similar to us. It's not us, but it's similar to us, and that is quite daunting. So I would say to our listeners, read up about it, take courses, follow various experts in the field. Let's connect, let's talk, be curious, be open-minded. And let's continue the discussion on how we can make it ethical, how we can make it responsible, and ultimately how we can make AI benefit and better for all. We can build that trust. How can we build the educational aspects around it? How can we start making a difference? And that is what the future of AI for me looks like. That's what I want it to look like for everyone around the world. We did it with the internet. The internet has still got its problems, but we've come very far in our advancements, and I think AI will be just the same if we just work together and we are able to make it really matter for everyone worldwide. Thank you.
That's truly amazing. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today and sharing those incredible insights, Mr. Warren. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Inez, and thank you, Yusuf, for having me. It's been wonderful
Thank
to
you.
join you, and I hope that this will be the start of many such podcasts in the future. It's
Your work
wonderful.
is truly inspiring and it just let us learn more about AI and how it will actually impact the world in the future.
It's only my pleasure. And if there are any other topics, if your listeners have got requests for any other topics to be addressed and you would like me to address them, it'll be my pleasure to join you again and we can work through those together.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. And to all our listeners at Arenda, we believe that every idea shared is a seed, and we're honored to plant them with you. If this episode moved you, inspired you, or made you think, share it with a friend, tag us on social media, or leave a quick review. Your voice helps our grow. And don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube for more conversations on technology, innovation, and impact. Stay tuned for episode 2, where we'll dive into CSR and business, redefining success in a responsible world. Until then, keep exploring and growing.